The house felt too quiet that Christmas Eve, as if the walls were waiting for something Daniel had no name for. He moved through the rooms, helping his mom arrange the last few decorations, but even she seemed distracted, glancing toward the doorway, as if expecting someone important. His sister, Marissa, floated around the house in her usual confident way, humming a tune that made Daniel think she already knew the ending of a story he hadn't been told. He noticed little things that felt wrong: the polite smiles, the way his parents exchanged small looks, the tension hiding behind holiday cheer. But he pushed it down. It was Christmas, and he didn't want to ruin it. When the time came to open gifts, everyone gathered near the tree, as if stepping into a stage play. Daniel sat between his parents, holding a quiet excitement in his chest. Because even though he never expected anything big, he liked this moment: the warmth, the wrapping paper, the soft glow of lights that made everything look hopeful. His dad reached under the tree and pulled out a small present with Daniel's name on it. The moment felt gentle but oddly rushed, as if they wanted to get it over with. Daniel unwrapped it and found a simple white mug with the words, "Good things take time," printed in faded blue. He nodded, smiled, said thank you, but inside he felt a small drop in his stomach. Not because he wanted something expensive, but because it felt thoughtless, almost random, like something grabbed at the last minute. Before he could think about it too deeply, his mum clapped her hands and turned to Marissa with a bright excitement that felt forced. "Now your special gift," she said, almost too loud. His dad reached behind the sofa and pulled out a tiny velvet box. Daniel knew immediately it wasn't jewelry. The shape, the weight, the way his father's hands trembled, it could only be one thing. A key fob. A very expensive one. Marissa squealed before even opening the box, as if she already knew what was inside. She flipped the lid, gasped dramatically, and jumped to her feet. "A car?" she cried. His dad nodded, smiling with relief rather than joy. "Alexis," he said. "The one you liked." Everyone stood and rushed to the front door. Daniel followed slowly, holding the mug he hadn't put down yet. Outside, parked under the soft glow of the porch light, was a brand new Lexus, chrome edges shining, a red bow tied around the hood like something from a commercial. Snowflakes drifted down around it, making the moment look magical. But Daniel felt a strange emptiness settle in his stomach. He wasn't angry. He wasn't jealous. But he felt something else, something hollow, quiet, sinking. Marissa ran circles around the car, taking selfies, hugging their parents, acting as if she'd won a prize she earned through years of hard work. But she hadn't. Daniel knew she hadn't. She had switched majors twice. Almost failed a class she said she didn't care about, got caught speeding last month, and spent more time complaining than doing anything productive. Yet here she was, rewarded like a star student. Daniel stepped back, watching the scene from a distance. He held the mug loosely in his hands, the cheap ceramic cooling slowly, becoming heavier as his fingers grew numb. He heard them thanking him, yes, thanking him in passing, because Marissa claimed he had told their parents she deserved something big. She said it with a sweet tone, a soft smile, as if she were lifting him up in front of them. But Daniel had never said anything like that. Not even close. And yet his parents nodded with relief, believing her completely. Daniel didn't argue. He didn't correct them. He didn't want to ruin the night. Instead, he whispered congratulations to his sister, walked back inside, and set the mug on the kitchen counter. The words looked different now. Good things take time. Maybe. But how much time? The night dragged on, in slow motion. His sister kept coming inside to warm her hands, flashing the Lexus key fob like a trophy. His parents kept praising her, bragging about how proud they were, how she was moving forward, how this car would help her step into adulthood the right way. Daniel sat on the sofa alone, watching the lights on the tree blink in steady cycles, each flash reminding him of something he couldn't put into words. It wasn't envy. It wasn't disappointment. It was the feeling of being invisible, as if his presence was needed only to complete a picture, not to be part of it. He tried to sleep that night, but the sound of Marissa laughing outside with her friends drifted through his window. They wanted to take a ride around the block. They wanted to celebrate. Even at midnight, the engine purred like a soft, smug voice in the background. Daniel rolled onto his back and stared at the ceiling. He tried to tell himself it didn't matter, that gifts were just objects, that value didn't equal love. But the thought that kept circling in his mind wasn't about the car. It was about the lie. The lie Marissa told so effortlessly. The lie everyone accepted. The lie that made him feel smaller than he'd ever felt before. He wondered when she had decided to use him like that. Had it been a spur-of-the-moment thing? Or had she planned it? He didn't know. All he knew was that something inside him had changed. Not a dramatic shift, not anger or rage, but a quiet spark, tiny, sharp, and impossible to ignore. By morning, the house felt colder. Daniel walked into the kitchen and found his mom standing near the counter holding the mug, turning it in her hands as if seeing it for the first time. Her eyes were tired, her hair messy from a restless night. When she looked at him, her expression carried something new, something tight and uncertain. "Daniel," she said, her voice low and trembling, "we need to talk." He braced himself, hoping she wasn't upset about the gift difference. He didn't want to make a scene. He didn't want to complain. But the words that came next hit him harder than anything else that had happened. "Why did you tell your sister we could afford that car?" She snapped softly, as if holding herself back. "Do you understand what you've done?" Daniel blinked, stunned. His chest tightened. He tried to speak, but his mother continued, her voice rising with worry and frustration. "She said you told her she deserved something big, that we weren't doing enough for her, that we should show support. That's the only reason we agreed. Do you know how much this cost? Do you know how long we'll be paying for it?" Every word cracked the foundation beneath him. His sister had not only lied, she had used his name as the excuse. She had pushed the responsibility onto him. She had made him the reason for their financial strain, for their stress, for their guilt. And his parents had believed her without question. Daniel finally forced out a quiet, shaky, "I never said that." His mother hesitated, her expression tightening with doubt. Not belief, doubt. She didn't know who to trust. She didn't know who was telling the truth. And that hurt more than the mug, the car, or the lie itself. For a moment, the room felt frozen. Then his mother sighed, exhausted, and whispered, "Just be more careful with what you say to her." As if he had said anything at all. As if this was somehow his fault. She set the mug down and walked away, leaving Daniel alone in the kitchen, staring at the chipped edge of a gift that suddenly felt like a symbol of everything wrong in their family. That was the moment something in him shifted, fully not anger but clarity. He realized that this wasn't about a car or a mug. It was about years of being overshadowed, overlooked, and misrepresented. It was about being the quiet one, the one who didn't argue, the one who didn't demand things, the one who made everything easier for everyone else. And now someone had used that against him. His sister, his own family. He picked up the mug and stared at the words again. Good things take time. He didn't smile. He didn't cry. He didn't break the mug or shout into the air. He simply breathed deeply and felt a decision forming, steady, calm, but powerful. Something inside him whispered that he didn't have to stay in the shadow anymore. That he didn't have to accept being blamed. That he didn't have to let this moment pass quietly. And for the first time, revenge didn't seem dramatic or wild. It seemed logical. It seemed fair. It seemed like a way to finally speak in a language his family would understand. At that moment, Daniel walked away from the counter, his steps slow but certain, carrying a new truth in his chest. A truth that would change everything that came next. Daniel woke the morning after Christmas with a strange heaviness inside him, the kind that follows a dream you can't fully remember, but still changes the way you breathe. His mind kept replaying the same moment, his mother holding the mug, accusing him of convincing them to buy the Lexus, repeating Marissa's lie as if it were truth. Every time he tried to push the memory away, it returned sharper, clearer, reminding him that something in their family had shifted overnight. He walked around the house feeling like he was moving through someone else's life. His parents acted normal, making breakfast and humming along to a radio station, but he could feel a thin layer of tension under everything, like a wire stretched too tight. Marissa sat at the table scrolling through her phone, smiling at messages from friends congratulating her. She tossed the keys on the table with a proud clatter, as if daring him to say something. He didn't. He wouldn't. Not yet. Instead, he watched her, studying her calm expression, the way she avoided making eye contact with him. She wasn't nervous. She wasn't worried. She knew her lie had worked. She knew their parents believed her. That realization made something spark inside Daniel, small, sharp, and growing hotter with every breath. He went to his room and closed the door, sitting on the edge of his bed, letting the anger settle into something steadier. He didn't want revenge out of rage. It wasn't about getting even. It was about balance, about fairness, about making sure the truth didn't stay buried under his sister's confident smile. For years, he had accepted being the quiet one, the overlooked one, the one who made life easier for everyone else simply by not causing trouble. But now he understood how dangerous his silence had become. It gave others power over him. It let them shape his story however they wanted. Marissa had learned long ago that she could twist things in her favor, and the family would bend with her. She didn't see it as manipulation. She saw it as survival, as securing the life she believed she deserved. Daniel didn't blame her for wanting things. He blamed her for taking them by putting weight on his shoulders. He blamed her for dragging him into her stories and letting him carry the consequences while she drove off in a luxury car she didn't earn. The next few days blurred together. Everywhere Daniel went in the house, he overheard whispers, half-finished sentences, worried tones. His parents thought he was careless, that he said things without thinking, that he pressured them without meaning to. He heard his mother tell his father, "He doesn't understand the weight of his words. We have to guide him better." Daniel felt a cold sadness settle in his chest. He had always been careful with his words, so careful that he often didn't use them at all. Yet somehow he was now blamed for something he never said. That was when the idea of revenge began shaping itself into a plan not dramatic, not loud, but clean and quiet, like closing a book that had been opened too long. He didn't want to embarrass his sister publicly or destroy her life. He just wanted her to stop standing on his back to get higher. He wanted the truth to matter again. One night, unable to sleep, he sat at his desk and opened his laptop. He typed Marissa's name, then the name of her scholarship program, the one she claimed she earned with hard work and dedication. He had always been proud of her for that achievement. It was one of the few things he admired about her. But now, with everything uncovered, he wanted to understand her better. He clicked through pages, old announcements, newsletters, student profiles. Something didn't fit. There was no mention of her year. No photo. No article praising her. He dug deeper. Emails, guidelines, requirements, records. And there it was, the truth rising in front of him like cold air. She had never received the scholarship. She had applied, yes, but she was rejected months ago. She had hidden the letter under old papers in her desk drawer. He remembered seeing her cry quietly one night. But when he asked if she was okay, she brushed him off. The next day, she announced she had been accepted. Their parents believed her instantly. They celebrated. They bragged. They used that supposed scholarship to justify buying her the Lexus. She earned it, they said. We're just supporting her future. Daniel leaned back in his chair, breathing slowly. The pieces aligned themselves without effort. Marissa had lied once to gain admiration, then lied again to avoid losing it, and lied a third time by dragging him into the story. This wasn't a mistake. It was a pattern, and he had been part of it without even knowing. The idea of revenge returned, clearer now. Not to hurt her, but to reveal the truth she had buried. He imagined confronting her directly, saying everything he'd swallowed over the years. But he knew she would twist his words, cry, claim he misunderstood. She was skilled at slipping out of consequences. He needed something she couldn't rewrite. Something undeniable. Something simple. An email. He found the contact information for the scholarship program director. His fingers hovered over the keyboard. He felt the familiar tug of guilt. Should he do this? Would it make him someone he didn't want to be? But he thought about his mother blaming him. He thought about his father whispering that they had to tighten budgets because of the car. He thought about being known as the brother who convinced his parents to take on debt. He thought about the chipped mug. He thought about the years of being the quiet one. And suddenly, he knew. Revenge wasn't the right word for what he wanted. Justice was closer. He typed quickly, explaining the misunderstanding, asking for clarification on his sister's status, attaching a screenshot of her public post claiming she was a scholarship awardee. He kept the tone polite, simple, factual. He didn't ask them to punish her. He just asked for the truth. When he hit send, a strange silence filled his room. Not relief, not triumph, just stillness. He closed the laptop and went to bed. But sleep felt far away. Part of him feared what would happen next. Another part felt strong for the first time. The next morning, he woke to his sister's scream from downstairs. A sharp, shock sound that cut through the house. Daniel sat up quickly, heart pounding. He heard footsteps, rapid voices, something crashing against the table. He walked downstairs slowly, unsure of what he would find. Marissa stood by the kitchen island, her phone shaking in her hand, her face pale. Their mother held her shoulders, asking what happened. Their father paced behind them, worry etched in every step. They emailed me, Marissa said. They said someone asked about my scholarship. They said there might be a misunderstanding and they want to talk to me. They want proof. I don't have proof. Her voice cracked. She looked terrified. Not angry yet. Just scared. She glanced at Daniel. Their eyes met. She knew. And he knew she knew. He expected her to explode, to call him out, to twist the truth again. But she looked away, breathing hard. Their mother asked who would send such a message. Marissa didn't answer. She just stared at the floor. The next few hours were chaos calls, questions, confusion. Marissa kept saying she needed time, she needed to figure things out. She needed to explain. Daniel stayed silent, observing everything. He didn't enjoy watching her crumble, but he didn't feel guilty either. It had to happen. The truth had to rise eventually. Later, when the house calmed down, Marissa cornered him in the hallway. Her eyes were red, but her voice was steady. You did this. Daniel met her stare without flinching. You dragged me into your lie. She stepped back, stunned by how calm he was. I didn't think it mattered, she whispered. You never say anything. That line struck him harder than anything else. She hadn't feared using him because he was predictable, silent, convenient. It wasn't personal, he was simply easy to ignore. For the first time, he felt something shift between them. Not closeness, not understanding, but recognition. She walked away without another word. Daniel stood there, realizing his life had changed in a quiet but permanent way. That night, he lay in bed and stared at the ceiling again. But his thoughts were different this time. He didn't regret sending the email. He didn't fear what would happen next. He felt the weight of years lifting, slowly but clearly. He hadn't destroyed his sister. He hadn't humiliated her. He had just removed the false ground she stood on. What she built next was up to her. For now, he felt something he hadn't felt in a long time: control. He closed his eyes, breathing evenly, knowing this was only the beginning of the shift in their family. But for the first time, he wasn't scared of change. He welcomed it. The morning Marissa was called in for a video meeting with the scholarship board. The entire house felt tense, as if the walls were trying to stay still and not crack under the weight of the truth waiting to break open. Daniel stayed in his room, listening to the muffled voices downstairs. His sister's tone shifted from confident to confused to frightened in less than 10 minutes, and he knew the truth had hit her harder than she expected. When the meeting ended, her footsteps thundered up the stairs as she rushed to her room, the door slamming behind her with a sharp finality. His parents looked stunned, whispering in worried voices that carried down the hallway. Daniel walked down the stairs slowly, feeling the silence form around him like a tight circle. His mum turned toward him, eyes full of questions she wasn't ready to ask. She knew something important had happened, something that exposed cracks in the image she held of her daughter. Marissa stayed locked in her room for hours. When she finally came out, her eyes were red, but her posture was stiff, as if she didn't want anyone to see she had been shaken. She didn't look at Daniel at first. She went straight to their parents and explained that the scholarship board thought she had misunderstood her acceptance status, that there were errors, that she just needed time to sort everything out. Her voice was steady, but Daniel could hear the tremble beneath it. His parents exchanged glances, not fully convinced but too overwhelmed to push her harder. Later, when she walked past him in the hallway, she stopped, turned slowly, and stared at him as if trying to read something in his face. He could tell she wanted to blame him. He could see the accusation forming behind her eyes. That something stronger held her back: fear, maybe, or guilt she didn't know how to carry. We need to talk, she said quietly. Daniel followed her to the driveway, where the Lexus sat gleaming under the cold morning sun. The bright car looked out of place next to the tension in the air. its shine almost mocking. Marissa stood beside it, gripping the edge of the door, breathing fast. "Why did you do it?" she asked, her voice sharp but shaky. "You sent the email." Daniel didn't deny it. "I asked for the truth," he said. "I didn't ask them to take anything away from you." She shook her head, frustrated. "You ruined everything. I had a plan. I was going to fix things before anyone knew." "By lying more?" Daniel asked calmly. That question stopped her for a moment. She opened her mouth to respond but couldn't find the right words. Instead, she stared at the car, as if the answer might be hiding in the reflection on the window. "I didn't mean to hurt anyone," she whispered. "I just wanted them to be proud of me. I needed something to show for all the pressure. I thought if I could pretend for a little longer, I could turn it into something real." Daniel understood the feeling of wanting approval, but he also knew the cost of pretending. "You could have told them the truth," he said. "You didn't have to drag me into it." Marissa's jaw tightened. "I didn't think it mattered. You never defend yourself. You always let things go. I thought you'd stay quiet." Hearing that hit him harder than any insult. She had used his silence as a tool. She counted on him fading into the background. She assumed he didn't mind. "I'm not your shield," Daniel said. "And I'm not your excuse." For the first time, she looked ashamed. Not angry, ashamed. She swallowed, her voice lowering to something fragile. "I didn't know you'd fight back." Daniel didn't feel victorious hearing that. He felt sad, because she was right. He had never fought back before, and that silence had allowed her to build her lies higher. As they stood there, their mother stepped out onto the porch, watching them with a worried expression. She didn't say anything, but the sight of her made something in Marissa crack. She turned away quickly, wiping her eyes. Daniel expected her to run back inside, but instead she whispered, "I don't know what to do anymore." Her voice trembled in a way he'd never heard before. It wasn't a performance. It was real. For a moment, Daniel almost stepped closer, almost offered comfort. But part of him knew she needed to face what she had done without him softening it. So he stayed where he was. "Tell the truth," he said simply. "Start there." She let out a shaky breath, nodding slowly. It wasn't a strong nod, it was small, uncertain, but genuine. Later that afternoon, their parents called both siblings into the living room. The atmosphere felt heavy, as if the room itself knew this was the moment everything would break open. Their father spoke first, his voice calm but strained. "We talked to the scholarship office," he said. "They told us the situation. We need to understand what happened." Marissa took a deep breath and told the story, not twisted, not dramatic, just honest. She explained the rejection letter she hid, the fear of disappointing them, the pressure she felt to match the expectations they placed on her, the lies that kept growing because she didn't know how to stop. She didn't blame Daniel. She didn't point fingers. She didn't try to escape responsibility. She just admitted everything. Her voice cracked halfway through, but she kept going. When she finished, their parents didn't shout. They didn't accuse. They looked shaken, sad, but also relieved, finally hearing the truth after months of pretending everything was perfect. Daniel waited quietly, wondering what they would say next. He wasn't prepared for what happened. Their mother turned to him, tears forming in her eyes. "I'm sorry," she said softly. "We shouldn't have assumed. We should have listened to you." Hearing that apology made Daniel feel a sudden warmth in his chest. Something like healing, but still new and uncertain. His father spoke next. "We put too much pressure on both of you," he said. "On her to succeed, and on you to stay quiet. We didn't realize what it was doing to the family." For the first time, Daniel felt seen not as the quiet son, not as the background character, but as someone whose presence had weight. Marissa looked at him with a different expression Now not superiority, not pity, but understanding that had taken a long time to reach. "I'm sorry," she said. The words were soft, but they mattered. Daniel nodded. He didn't need her to break down or beg. The truth was enough. The house seemed calmer after that conversation, as if a storm had passed and left clearer air behind. But there was one more moment waiting for them. That evening, as the sun set behind the line of trees, Daniel went into the driveway to think. The Lexus stood there, shining quietly, no longer a symbol of pride, but a reminder of a truth they could no longer avoid. Marissa joined him, holding the keys in her hand. "I'm giving it back," she said before he asked. "I told them I can't keep it. Not like this." Daniel didn't tell her she was making the right decision. She already knew. Instead, he just nodded. She placed the keys in her pocket and looked up at the sky. "I don't know what I'm supposed to do next," she said. "Start over," Daniel answered. "We all can." She studied his face, as if searching for anger or resentment, but she found none. He had already released it. Revenge had given him clarity, but forgiveness, slow, cautious, natural, was giving him something deeper. Peace. As they walked back inside, Daniel realized something important. His revenge hadn't destroyed his sister. It hadn't shattered their family. It had shaken them awake. And in that awakening, the truth had made room for healing. That night, he sat in his room holding the chipped mug again. The words were still the same. Good things take time. But they looked different now. He finally understood them. Not everything needed to be taken by force. Not everything needed to be fought with anger. Sometimes, the hardest battles were the quiet ones, the ones inside yourself. The ones that ended not when someone else changed, but when you did. Daniel placed the mug on his shelf and felt a soft, steady relief settle inside him. He had stepped out of the shadow. He had spoken the truth. He had faced the moment of revenge and chosen honesty over destruction. And for the first time, the house felt balanced, not perfect, not healed, but on the path towards something better. He lay down, closed his eyes, and finally felt like he belonged in his own story.